This is the Cup Playoff Preview Show. Yes, I'm Casey Campbell. Of course, that is the one, the only Nathan Solomon, YouTuber and managing editor of the Podium Finish. Hi, bud. How's St. Bonaventure?
It's good, man. I've been back for a couple days, getting back into the school grind, and it's now in time in the NASCAR Cup Series. So that's always a lot of fun.
Yay. Before we get to any of that, I would like to say happy birthday to a good friend of mine, RJ Starcevic. He turns 18 today. So happy birthday, buddy. But we got the Cup playoffs getting ready to go. They get started here at Darlington. 16 drivers are in. And now it's only 10 more races until we decide a championship. This season has flown by.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know. It just feels like the other day I was watching the Daytona 500. Now here we are, 26 races in. Been crazy. I've covered like 5 of them this year. Or no, it feels like I was just at the Clash, right? Because I almost kind of keep forgetting myself that I was at the Clash. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that feels like it was like just the other day, and here we are now. So summer's definitely flown, especially because I did like 3 or 6 races there between middle of July and end of August. So, kind of sad that I'm not gonna be back at the track again this year, most likely. But yeah, really excited to watch this on TV.
Yeah, for sure. I get one more. Get one more trip. It's an ARCA race, but it's the championship race, so why not? But yeah, it'll be definitely fun for sure. All right, let's talk about the field so far. There are eight. There are 8 Chevrolets in the field. Only 3 Toyotas, and the rest of them are Fords. So, how do you think playoffs are going to roll? All the Hendrick cars are in. Only 3 Gibbs cars are in. Both RCR cars, both Trackhouse cars, 2 Stewart-Haas cars, and I think that's it.
Did you say Penske?
And 3 Penske cars. Yep. And now I know that's it.
Yeah, no, that is it. But yeah, kind of interesting, right? I mean, obviously, when you do Daytona would bring a lot of chaos over the weekend, and it certainly did. A new winner, kind of an unexpected winner, a little bit of an upset. Austin Dillon there getting in, of course, pushing Martin Truex Jr. out of the playoffs, and it is kind of crazy to think that with Dillon winning there, right, that if Kurt Busch hadn't, dropped his medical waiver, that we'd be looking at a playoffs right now without Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. So certainly crazy there. Blaney barely sneaks in by 3 points as a 7th seed, which is super crazy to think, right? He barely gets in, and now he's a top half seed, and right now is looking to have a path into the round of 8. So certainly crazy there. Not a surprise that we have we have 8 Chevys here in the field. Obviously, Trackhouse has been very strong this year. Hendrick throughout the entire season, at least 1 or 2 cars have been really strong throughout the year. I mean, kind of started off on the opposite, right? William Byron, Alex Bowman get off to really great starts. Obviously, Larson wins the Auto Club, but he kind of hit that rut there afterwards. Chase Elliott started off a little slower, then all of a sudden, really flipped the switch there at that Dover win. So Chevy is certainly the manufacturer to beat. The Penske cars have had underrated seasons for sure. Joey Logano has 2 points paying victories, the Clash victory. Blaney won the All-Star race, so they certainly have a lot of speed there. Cindric won the 500s, and it's really had a great summer, and nobody's really talked about it. I think outside of a couple of races where he had some incidents, I think Pocono and Watkins Glen, he's finished, I want to say top 12 or top 13 the last 8 or 9 races besides those 2. So he's had a really good stretch, and I think Ford obviously didn't have a very good year last year, different car, but they're certainly hungry to redeem themselves. They have 5 of them in the playoffs, 2 Stewart-Haas cars as well. Chase Briscoe is really not had a good summer at all. He hasn't finished in the top 10 since the Coke 600, but Kevin Harvic has a ton of momentum right now, and at least those 4 Fords are going to be really difficult to beat. So definitely the underdogs there, and then there's Toyota teams, and kind of don't really know what to expect out of them. Denny Hamilton, really weird season, has 2 wins, 2 wins, and is the 6th seed. Of course, you look at Kyle Busch, he has 1 victory. Obviously, the contract uncertainty, we'll see if that'll be a bit of a distraction for him at all. Easily could not be in the playoffs right now because he back into a victory at the Bristol Dirt when Chase Briscoe and Tyler Reddick crashed there in the last lap, last corner. Otherwise, Busch wouldn't be in the playoffs right now. And then Christopher Bell, who another driver's had a really good summer, had some really bad luck to start the season, but won at Loudon and has been on a really good stretch ever since. So, like I said, Chevrolet is definitely the front runner, but I think Fords can definitely shake it up and put a couple cars into the championship four. But Toyota, again, the big question mark. I don't know if any of them are going to be able to get themselves into the championship four. Denny Hamlin's had the most winning potential this season. So if there's going to be a Toyota in the championship four in 9 weeks, then it'll definitely be the 11 car.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And plus, also the 45 car is running for the owners' championship as well, because Kurt Busch took away his waiver to allow somebody else to get in because of the medical issues he's still dealing with. By the way, speaking of, well, since we're on that topic, of course, you mentioned Christopher Bell. He'll be in the 18 this weekend for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series, replacing Denny Hamlin, of course, from still feeling effects from the crash at Daytona on Sunday. That's another topic for another day. But let's just kind of go through, round by round of 16 coming up here. We started Darlington with the Southern 500, then we go to Kansas, and then, of course, the night race at Bristol. Anything could happen there. You got the round of 12 with Texas, Talladega, and the Charlotte Roval. So a 1.5 mile, a super speedway, and a Roval. Yeah. And then the round of 8 is, oh goodness, correct. Help me out here.
Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville. I'll jump
Yep.
in there.
Yeah, and then the championship race, of course, at Phoenix. I always forget the round of 8. I knew they were all in there. I just didn't know where they were on the schedule. So, gonna be a pretty good playoff. What track are you think that there could be some more interesting things happening?
I don't know about interesting. Or are we talking about the whole playoffs or just this first
Yeah,
round?
the whole playoffs.
I don't know about interesting, but I think maybe the one that I am the most intrigued for is the second round in the round, or the second race in the round of 8, and that's Homestead, right?
Yeah.
Next gen car, to my knowledge, has never been there except for maybe a test, like a Goodyear tire test, or one of the preliminary tests. There's going to be an organizational test between now and that race, but in my opinion, and I don't, maybe you'll agree with me or not, but with the old car, Homestead was probably the best 1.5 miles that we went to, just in terms of
Yeah.
racing and everything. So I think it's going to be a super racy track, a super fun race, just because it's a 1.5 miles, but it's kind of different than any of the other 1.5 miles. Like it's got those longer straightaways. I mean, the corners are a little bit sharper, so it's slower speeds and everything. It's certainly high banked, but like I said, different than the other 1.5 miles that we go to. So I think that'll certainly be interesting, especially since there hadn't been a race on there with the new car before then. And another one is this round. It's the cutoff race, Bristol, kind of the same thing, right? We've not really been to this track with the next gen car. Dirt doesn't count because it's certainly a completely different feel. Again, I think there have been tests there before, not an organizational test, and there's not going to be before that race. So a lot of guys are gonna be on that track for the first time with the next gen car in practice, and they're not gonna have a whole lot of time there. Maybe 50 laps at the most. So they're gonna have to figure it out quick, and it's certainly an important race for those playoff drivers.
For sure. And let's talk about going round by round. We know this. Reveal your playoff bracket there, bud.
All right, so I will do the eliminations for each round, right?
Okay.
So round of 16, I have a couple of Hendrick cars going out. William Byron, Alex Bowman. They've really struggled this summer. They've really not been able to piece anything together. Like I mentioned earlier, they had really good springs. By May, they kind of really fell off, and they both have, top tens have been very hard to come by for them. So I have them both coming out. I think Byron's the 5 seed, though. I still am not overly optimistic that he's going to perform well in these 3 races, and same as Bowman. And then the other 2 are probably the most predictable ones, Chase Briscoe and Austin Dillon. Like I mentioned, Briscoe, again, not a very good summer. I think he's finished outside the top 20 in his last 5 races now. That's not going to get him into the next round, I can tell you that. And then Austin Dillon, he's had a chance to contend in a couple of races this year. He obviously won at Daytona, but circumstances certainly help that. I don't think he's a playoff caliber driver and a playoff caliber team this year, so I see an early exit for him.
Heading into the round of 12.
Round of 12. So this is where it gets a little bit more difficult, right? I think Austin Cindric will probably go in the round of 12, though it's a good set of tracks for him, right? Talladega, good super speedway racer, at least with these new cars. Good road course racer, Roval. I don't know. I can't kind of a gut feeling there, but I think Cindric could also be a guy that could sneak into the round of 8. And if he does that, that would be pretty incredible for his rookie season. Christopher Bell, I do have him going out in the round of 12. Again, a lot of unpredictability there in that round. So I think there's a very good chance though that we see like a big name, like a really big name go out in that round of 12, just with all the chaos that could come with the Roval and Talladega and even Texas, just because that track's just, well, I won't get into that. But I have Daniel Suarez. He's been okay throughout the summer. I think he'll run well enough to get into the round of 12. I think he might be the last guy into the round of 12. On that note, I think he'll maybe be the first guy out in the round of 12. And then my last guy here might be a little bit of a surprise. I don't know. It will be his teammate, Ross Chastain. We've talked about it all summer. He's not making any friends out there. Again, a lot of unpredictability. I know he won Talladega in the spring. No, he won a road course in the spring. But I think he's gonna have a lot of trouble getting past there.
Yeah, and this could, I've heard this explanation. The field will not let him get past the round of 12, because let's go to the round of 8. Who you got? That now this is where it could get interesting.
It could. So now my round of 8. Just to clarify, I have Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, and Denny Hamilton left, right? So those are my 8 left.
Yep.
I think going out in the round of 8 will be Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Larson, and Hamlin. Kyle Busch, again, had kind of a tough stretch there in the summer. I think, he's such a clutch driver. I think he's the guy that can turn it around and really step up his game when he needs to. So a couple of disappointing exits the last 2 years. I think he'll make it to the round of 8. Kevin Harvick, he has a lot of momentum, maybe the most momentum of any of the 4 teams right now with those 2 victories at Michigan and Richmond. I think that he's on a good enough stretch right now that he will get into the round of 8. Kyle Larson, his team kind of came alive a lot more here in this later part of the summer. Obviously, the win at Watkins Glen has been in the mix a lot, just hasn't put a full race together. I think he'll be able to do that in the playoffs and at least get into the round of 8, but I don't think he'll make it past there. And then my last elimination, Denny Hamilton. It's just inconsistency that worries me. I think there's a very good chance he could win at Darlington this weekend, get himself into the round of 12. Maybe win a Talladega or something to get into the round of 8. I think he could win his way into the first couple of rounds, but he hasn't shown enough consistency where he can kind of piece races together and make it the championship 4, of course, unless he wins his way in there. So that sets up my championship 4 of Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and Tyler Reddick, which I don't think we mentioned yet. Tyler Reddick, of course, won 2 road course races this summer. I think the round of 8 is going to really suit him with Homestead. Going to really suit him with Las Vegas. That's going to be a very good round for him. So I think if anything, he can even point his way into the championship 4. So those are my 4 to make it the championship. And my pick, I know he's a favorite going in. It's going to be Chase Elliott. Nobody's had anything really for him this year. He's been by far the best car, the most consistent car all season. Constantly running in the top 5, top 10. I think he'll get it done and win a second championship in his second in 3 seasons.
And the thing is, there were no Toyotas that you have in your championship 4. Toyota won 5 out of the 6 championships last year, including the Xfinity title, the Trucks title, and they swept all 3 ARCA titles. So they obviously didn't win the Cup one. Obviously, that went to Kyle Larson. But what's that going to? Could Toyota make their way into the final? Do you see that happening or no?
I think they're gonna have to win their way in, probably. Like I mentioned, Hamilton very inconsistent. Kyle's had struggles at some points throughout the year. Christopher Bell been probably the most consistent Toyota driver in the playoffs right now. I don't know how long he can keep that up for. But their saving grace is there are, like I said, 2.5 miles there in the round of 8. and Toyotas have been very good at mile and a half this year. So I think that could be their chance to win their way in. But in terms of pointing their way in, I don't think that's going to happen.
It looks like they're going to have to win to get in. So that will be very interesting to see there. All right. Before we go, there's a big documentary coming on tonight. Of course, tonight is the premiere of Race to the Championship, that new NASCAR docuseries on USA tonight at 10. Are you excited for that, bud?
Yeah, it should be cool. I mean, I think fans have asked for like a Drive to Survive type series, kind of going off the Formula One thing. And USA and NASCAR, they listened. So the fans have got what they wanted, and they better be tuning in now, because I think it's going to be kind of a neat way for fans to see the behind the scenes stuff of NASCAR that they can't always see at the racetrack. So it should be good, and hopefully a lot of people will be watching.
It'll be fun. It's a side that we get to see and a lot of people don't. So it should be fun. Oh, another thing, what's coming up on the podium finish?
Playoff stuff, of course. I mean, that's the big thing right now, is playoff previews. Xfinity Series, of course, kind of wrapping up their regular season. We'll have some stuff out there here soon. And then the Truck Series will be back here next weekend. So I'm sure, and that'll be an elimination race for them. So next weekend will, of course, be a little bit of a focus onto that, just, with the transfers and everything. So it should be fun.
Fun stuff there. All right, Nathan, thanks for taking some time, and we'll playoff start 6 p.m. Sunday for the Cup Series at Darlington. Tune into USA for race coverage.